Hello, movie friends. This is your friend, the MovieDude Eric, and I am here to do the worst 5 films of 2015. Now, I don't really like to talk about the worst of things. I don't like to talk a lot of trash. I like to celebrate movies, but sometimes there's just movies that just don't work, and they just make me mad, and it frustrates me that these movies exist. But at the same time, this is my list, and because I don't go out of my way to go see bad movies, although one you'll probably say I probably was looking for trouble, that honestly, it really disappoints me that these movies actually made my list. And I feel that if I didn't at least mention that these movies do kind of have that way of being antagonistic, especially movies that people really like, that alternative opinion specifically needs to be out there, even if it is an unpopular opinion, which some of these will definitely have that unpopular opinion element to it. But again, this is just my personal opinion, so if you love these movies, I'm glad for you. I mean no ill will, but again, this is just my perception of these films, and let's see where this leads us. So, my number 5 worst film of the year is Entourage, the movie. Now, I probably shouldn't have expected it to be very good. Although I was a fan of the HBO show when it was on TV, I don't know, part of me was hoping for something nostalgic, kind of the same way with Sex and the City, the movie in that sense. And in a way, it failed the same kind of test that Sex and the City failed, which is that why should we care? And especially with Entourage, it's boring. The characters are flat. And as much as I enjoy a good bro movie, this one just felt like these characters didn't belong in the same movie. And I don't know if that's just me changing my taste from the show, or if I had just seen something about the show that really kind of turned me off, like the Sex and the City movie did when I saw that. But at the same time, this is just pure dull and inane, and there's really not much here that's of any good. I mean, even the likes of Billy Bob Thornton couldn't save this movie. And so, yes, this is one of those that it felt like a few episodes of the show put together. It doesn't even really have an ending. It feels like a continuation, and I don't think that it's going to get that continuation. I'm sorry, but my number 5 is Entourage. Number 4 should have been an obvious stay away, especially considering my feelings for Adam Sandler. But part of me was curious about this particular project because I am an old school gamer from the Atari age. But Pixels wasn't just one of the most disappointing movies. It's one of those that I can honestly say tried its hardest to rob me of my gamer soul. This is a video game movie that doesn't understand video games. It doesn't understand gaming culture, even retro gaming culture at that. I don't know if Adam Sandler has ever played a game of Donkey Kong or Pac-Man, to be honest. If the movie is of any concern, for all I know, he stayed as far away from video games as humanly possible. This is the most crass and the most unusual sellout of a medium I think I've ever seen, even beyond that of the Super Mario Brothers movie from '93. This is a movie that, how do I put this? It is going after a niche market and trying to exploit it and trying to get nostalgic off of it while at the same time making fun of it. I'm sorry, but what was the whole point of this movie? What were you trying to get at? And don't even get me started on the ending, which was so ridiculously stupid that I felt like I did lose some brain cells on this one. But anyway, Pixels, my number 4, and if that says anything, the next 3 are pretty bad stinkers. But they're also some of the most popular movies that have been out. Especially my number 3, which technically speaking really should have been in my worst of 2014, but it didn't come out into local theaters here until last January, and I'm still so mad at this movie. I can't get over myself about this. It frustrates me, it angers me, and I got to put on on this list, and that was American Sniper. I love war movies. I love hero movies. I love movies about complex, deep characters. If American Sniper were any one of these 3 of any value, I would be gravitating towards it. And especially considering my love for Clint Eastwood's films, that's just, that should have been a lock for me to love this film. I was eagerly excited about seeing this film. And after I came out of this film, I was angry and confused and frustrated because this is not the Clint Eastwood that made Mystic River. This is not the Clint Eastwood who made Unforgiven. This is a pandering, exploitive, narcissistic film that took all the great elements of movies like Sergeant York and kind of whittled it down to something that doesn't mesh. It doesn't work. This is a film that wants to be both pro and anti-war. It wants to be contemplative, but it wants to be celebratory. Bradley Cooper is one note here, and I don't understand where this thing fell apart. But it fell apart gloriously and frustratingly, considering that there was a good movie to be made out of this. If it didn't treat Chris Kyle like a legend and kind of brought him down to a more manageable level. Even when we get to the PTSD element of the film, it was treated almost as an afterthought, and that to me was rather disturbing considering what this film was trying to go for. But at the same time, yeah, this is really bad, and I know that I'm going to be seeing Clint Eastwood's next film, and I will be watching what comes of Clint Eastwood moving forward. But at the same time, American Sniper was just a big flat fail. So that was my number 3, American Sniper. My number 2, I don't know why I keep giving James Bond so much leniency when it comes to doing something interesting. And maybe it's because I've had a long and rich history with this franchise, but since the Daniel Craig era, I've kind of slowly come to not like, or at least what Daniel Craig's Bonds were. Not exactly Craig, because Craig was doing a pretty good job, but the movies themselves just didn't hit those notes. And Spectre is one of the most laziest, one of the most inept, one of the most boring action movies, not to mention one of the worst, if not the worst, James Bond film ever made. The most exciting and most interesting action sequence in this entire film involved a wall coming down, and that happens relatively early in the film. There's no the story doesn't make sense. It retcons things really badly. There's so many wasted opportunities in this film, wasted characters, wasted actors. I feel bad for both Christoph Waltz and Dave Bautista. Both are incredibly interesting screen personas. Both completely underused, mismanaged, misused, everything. Daniel Craig looks like he's bored. Sam Mendes' direction looks completely by the numbers. There's nothing exciting about this. There's especially in a year that has both Kingsman and Mission Impossible, where the spy game has been ratcheted up just a little bit, and this thing, especially with the other comparisons that are now available, it falls apart. I've never been this angry at a Bond film before, and that's even after seeing Never Say Never Again. So, Spectre is my number 2 worst film of the year. If you've seen it, I'm sorry. Alright, so what makes my number 1 worst film of 2015? Another movie that I was extremely excited about. I didn't have the expectations that I would with, say, like Star Wars or Guardians of the Galaxy or something like that. But I was very interested, especially considering that this was a film that was supposed to be kind of on the circuit for some awards, and it's not really at this point, although we're not yet at the end, so there could be some awards for this, although I hope not. And that is Black Mass. This is the movie where Johnny Depp plays Whitey Bulger, the Boston gangster who terrorized Boston during the 70s, 80s, and I believe 90s. This was the story that influenced The Departed, and this is watered down gangster. This is the most boring, dull, lifeless gangster movie ever made. This thing has no bite to it. There's very little in action going on. Most of the action that's happening is happening off screen, and it's not even told in a good way. The film doesn't know which character to follow. It's not following Whitey Bulger. There are other characters and other actors in this movie that are so good and that you want to really follow their characters and see where they're going, but it never follows through. And the direction is lifeless, not just lifeless, but borderline inept, considering that it, for some reason, it wanted to put these close-ups so often and kind of cut back to these close-ups in a way that just doesn't make sense, especially since the action is elsewhere going on in the scene. Johnny Depp's makeup is modestly okay, but his contact lenses are some of the... I honestly thought he was a vampire. Let's just put it that way. The contact lenses was otherworldly. It was like he took those from his Tim Burton days and decided to use them here. I don't know why. It makes no sense. Johnny Depp's performance is on the borderline of ham, and considering, of course, this is the same year of Mordecai, that's saying something there. Missed opportunities galore. Just inept all throughout. The screenplay has no punch to it. The direction, the lighting is horrible. The costumes are rough at best. The only thing I could say is that the actors were trying their hardest to polish a turd, and it only made the turd more visible because they were just trying so hard to make this thing look good. And I coming out of this movie, I was beyond furious and still am, because this thing should have worked. There was a great story here. There was opportunities that could have been used, but the direction and everything about this film was off the mark completely. So the worst film of 2015 is Black Mass. So, obviously, these are some controversial picks, especially in the year of Fantastic Four and some other films that have had some less than stellar reviews. Again, I don't go see horror films that I think are going to be really bad, with some exceptions, of course. But I think it's even worse, in my opinion, when a film is trying to go for something, and not only does it not hit the mark, but misses completely. And in these cases, the mark was 180 degrees from where these movies should have been. Although Pixels probably, I should have known better on that one. But if you agree, please, by all means, voice, or if you don't agree, please voice your opinions in the comments below. Make sure that you like and follow us on, or subscribe to us here on YouTube, and you can also go into the Arthouse Legends page on Facebook and like us there. And I'm going to my next video is going to be the top 10 scenes from 2015, where I'll be discussing the 10 scenes in movies this year that have been extremely impressive and that I think make this year one of the best in cinema history. But we'll talk about that in the next episode. Also, keep an eye out for my top 10 list, which will be coming out roughly around the beginning of next year. It's rounding out to be a very interesting list, to say the least, and I cannot wait to share it with you. Until then, this is the MovieDude Eric, and have a wonderful day.